Ukraine-Russia war escalates as Putin threatens retaliation. Tensions between Russia and Ukraine have intensified once again after Russian President Vladimir Putin accused Ukraine of carrying out a deadly drone strike on a student dormitory in the occupied Luhansk region. According to Russian officials, the overnight attack targeted a college dormitory in the town of Starobilsk, an area currently under Russian control. Moscow claims at least 6 people were killed and 39 others injured in the strike, while around 15 people are still missing as rescue operations continue. Russian state media reported that the building housed dozens of teenage students between the ages of 14 and 18. Images released by Moscow-installed authorities showed a heavily damaged structure with large sections collapsed after what Russia described as a massive drone strike. President Putin strongly condemned the incident, calling it a terrorist attack and warning that Russia would respond. He stated that he had already instructed the Russian Defense Ministry to prepare retaliation options against Ukraine. So far, Ukraine has not officially commented on the allegations, and independent verification of Russia's claims remains difficult. Both Russia and Ukraine have repeatedly denied intentionally targeting civilian areas throughout the war. The incident comes at a time when fighting between the two countries continues to intensify on multiple fronts. Ukraine has recently increased drone attacks on Russian-controlled territory and military infrastructure, while Russia continues launching missile and drone strikes across Ukrainian cities. Meanwhile, international concern is growing over the possibility of further escalation in the conflict. Russian officials have recently increased nuclear rhetoric, with Putin describing nuclear weapons as a last resort measure during joint military exercises with Belarus. At the same time, NATO countries are strengthening military preparations amid fears the war could expand beyond Ukraine's borders. Military drills and defense exercises are increasing across Europe, particularly near eastern NATO territories. The United States is also continuing to play a major role in the conflict. Speaking during a NATO foreign ministers' meeting in Sweden, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio defended Washington's support for Ukraine. Rubio claimed Ukraine is receiving more support than ever through military cooperation programs involving NATO allies. However, he admitted that peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine have not produced meaningful results so far. He stated that the United States remains open to facilitating productive talks if there is a realistic opportunity for progress. At the same time, he stressed that NATO must continue proving its value not only to Europe but also to the United States. The comments come as divisions between the U.S. and some European allies continue to grow over military priorities and international conflicts, including tensions involving Iran. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has also remained active in discussions surrounding NATO and the Ukraine war. Trump recently announced plans to send an additional 5,000 American troops to Poland, signaling continued military support for Eastern Europe despite earlier criticism of NATO commitments. Elsewhere in Ukraine, the humanitarian situation remains severe. The United Nations Refugee Agency reported that one of its aid warehouses in the Ukrainian city of Dnipro was destroyed during a recent Russian missile strike. According to UN officials, the warehouse contained nearly $1 million worth of emergency aid supplies, including shelter materials, hygiene kits, and essential equipment intended for displaced civilians living near frontline regions. The UN described the destruction as a major setback for humanitarian efforts, especially as millions of Ukrainians continue facing displacement and daily attacks. Meanwhile, European nations are now discussing expanding their own military capabilities. Reports indicate that France may join a British-German missile development program designed to create long-range precision weapons capable of striking targets deep inside Russian territory. The proposed missile systems could reportedly have ranges exceeding 2,000 kilometers, highlighting Europe's growing focus on defense independence and military readiness. On the diplomatic side, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha expressed frustration with ongoing U.S.-brokered peace discussions, saying negotiations appear to be reaching exhaustion. According to Sybiha, many of the same issues continue to be discussed repeatedly without major breakthroughs. Ukraine now believes stronger European involvement could help restart meaningful diplomatic efforts. Despite international mediation attempts, the battlefield situation remains extremely dangerous, with drone warfare becoming increasingly central to the conflict. Both Russia and Ukraine continue using advanced drones for attacks on infrastructure, military positions, and strategic facilities. As the war enters another tense phase, fears are rising that retaliatory strikes from Russia could lead to even more destruction and civilian casualties in the coming days. The conflict, now stretching into another year, continues reshaping global politics, military alliances, and international security, while millions of civilians remain caught in the middle of one of the world's most dangerous ongoing wars.